And hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt. Thanks for joining us tonight on this edition of Sports Talk Monday. Coming up, we'll hear from local Olympian and Michael Weiss and his foundation, how it's helping our community. But a little background on our first guest. Oftentimes, kickers in the game of football are punchlines for half-hearted jokes and locker room media sessions. But if you think about it, going in front of 70,000 fans and millions more on television in an effort to make a 48-yard field goal with no time left to win a game, if you think that's easy, then you don't know football. And in this town, you know Mark Mosley. He was the NFL MVP. You've seen Adam Vinatieri. He hit 2 Super Bowl winning field goals. And tonight, I'm joined by Rolf Benirschke, who was the Pro Bowl kicker for the San Diego Chargers from 1978 through 1986. And with all those great years, he did it with an illness. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Rolf.
Thanks, Timmy.
Am I wrong talking about kickers there?
No, you're right. I think it's taken a long time to dispel that myth, but I think if you look around the league, some of the kickers are some of the great athletes out there.
And it's like a relief pitcher. I mean, these guys play the entire game. You come in, and now it's up to you to win or lose the game that they've also worked for.
Yeah, there's definitely, it's a specialty. We were specialists before. There were, fifth down, third down specialists, 5 defensive backs, but it's been fun to see the transition. Mark Mosley, you talked about, was a great player, but he was a dinosaur. I mean, he's the last guy to really kick with a toe. The rest are now soccer players that have learned the craft of transitioning from soccer kicking to kicking football. And but yeah, these are great memories. This was one of the great games of all time, 1982 playoff game against Miami, where we had a chance to win it in overtime. I missed a kick. They had a chance to win it, missed a kick. We blocked it. They had a second chance to win it, missed it, and then finally I got a second chance, which is sort of like my life, Timmy. I had a second chance to play after being really sick. I was stricken with ulcerative colitis, ultimately needed surgery, thought my career was over because I woke up from a hospital weighing 120 pounds with 2 ostomy bags on my side. Very lucky to have survived and was not given any chance to play again. And as I slowly healed over the next 5 months, got to where I was strong enough, and I had to go to my owner and say, would you allow me to kick again? In the world of professional sports, the sick and the injured, are usually sort of discarded. There are 100 people waiting for your job, but he allowed me to kick, and we could protect my stomas, and I was able to earn my job back. And really, that's where my life changed. All of a sudden, I was the beneficiary of new technology, medical technology, that allowed me to, bend and sweat and kick, and ultimately play. And it changed my life. Wherever we would play then, we'd play. There's my surgery. It was a bad deal. We'd play in Denver, Dallas, and especially the first couple of years back, my father there was told that I wasn't likely going to survive the night. My dad's a doctor, and I was actually operated on the same hospital that he worked at. It was a gruesome time for us. But we would play in Denver, and the local guy would write an article about it, and wherever that paper appeared, suddenly I would get 100 letters. Here I'm...
Look at Louis Kelcher helping you out there.
Yeah, escorted out there.
First game back.
Honorary captain for the game. I could hardly walk. I had 2 bags on my side. My abdomen was sewn together with wire. At this point, I don't think I'll ever play again. I'm just happy to be alive. And with this new technology, I'm given a chance to play and play 7 more years.
All right, Rolf, let's go back to the beginning. Now, is this like Crohn's disease?
Yeah, there are 2 illnesses. Ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease are both inflammatory bowel diseases. And that's what I had. Originally diagnosed as Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Sometimes we can manage it with medication, but sometimes we need surgery, and oftentimes we have to have an ostomy bag as a result of it.
Totally incontinent, and this oftentimes leads to cancer?
If you have a sort of unregulated colitis over a period of time, you have to be absolutely concerned about the opportunity to develop that into cancer. Tony Snow is an example of someone that had sort of ongoing medical issues with colitis, ultimately needed ostomy for colon cancer, seemed to do well, and then the cancer came back and unfortunately passed away. But that is not uncommon.
They tell you you're not going to live through the night. You not only have the surgery, you live through the night, you make your recovery. We saw the scar, we saw the incision. How did you come back to play football? And you said you came back at 123 pounds.
Yeah, so I started at 190 pounds, and through my illness and my surgery, I was down to 123 pounds. Woke up with these 2 bags on my side, looking around going, what just happened? Where do I go from here? We used to think that with an ostomy you would have to live a life constrained to this little box. The reality is, I learned that you can literally do everything. We have Air Force pilots, police officers, President Bush's brother, Tip O'Neill, Al Geiberger, professional golfer, that play with an ileostomy. And we learned that it's a second chance at life. This new technology gives us that. And for me, I never thought I could do that. But as you get healthy, all of a sudden the opportunity presented itself. And 7 more years in the league and great memories and an opportunity to kind of deflect the attention that gets focused on us to the condition of ostomy.
Well, everybody comes on, and we've had guests on that talk about getting tested for prostate cancer, get tested for this, have your colonoscopy. How do you tell people to look? Is it the colonoscopy? Just make sure you have that done?
Well,
how do you...
with inflammatory bowel disease, you would have symptoms. You'd have bad diarrhea, bloody diarrhea, abdominal crampiness. And now, fortunately, the word is out. We're diagnosing it earlier. But, we're seeing a change in all medical devices. What originally, we talked about knees. We're
sure.
Older players now that remember when we had a knee surgery, right? Your knee would be open from top to bottom. Now they do an arthroscopy.
Sure.
You're back in 3 or 4 games many times. The same are with other conditions, and people with inflammatory bowel disease that need, colostomies or ileostomies can get back and do anything. It's remarkable.
All those years that I watched you play, before we had actually met, and I'm thinking, all right, here's another kicker. Had no clue about this until years afterwards, and it certainly knew through Danny and other people, Dan Fouts and other teammates of yours. But was there had to be doubt that you wouldn't come back. When did you know, I can do this? Because your best years were when you came back.
Right. There was a lot of doubt. There was self-doubt initially whether I could actually function, whether the bags would stay on, but fortunately they did. There was actually a seminal moment. We were playing a preseason game, and Dan will tell the story in a funny way. It was right at the end of the half. We had 30 seconds left. It was going to be a 55-yard field goal, and Coryell says, punt team, and he turns and walks away. And the special teams coach, who's watched me recover, says, you can kick this, can't you? And I said, yeah. So he goes, field goal unit. So the field goal unit goes running out there. We're halfway out there. We hear Coryell saying, I said the punt team. But then it was too late. We're out there on the field, and we make the kick. And it was sort of, it was seminal in that it was a reminder for everybody to analyze me as a kicker, not as a sick guy that's coming back. And fortunately, I played at a time and under a coach, and Coach Coryell, who valued that and gave me the opportunity, and got to play then 7 more years and started a program called Great Comebacks, where for 30 years now we have honored people who have had surgery, ileostomy or colostomy surgery, and who have put their lives back together and serve as examples for others.
Incredible story. Great ball player. More on our conversation with Rolf, who's battled health issues, his career, and how he's turned that into a positive for patients with the same condition. Sports Talk continues in just a minute. Stay with us.
Introduce you to him at this time. Please welcome the new host of the Daytime Wheel of Fortune, Rolf Benirschke. Welcome.
Thank you. Fun to be here. A little overwhelming, but it's exciting.
It is exciting, and we have a lot of weeks, years, months, and everything.
Taking you back through the window of time. This guy could do it all. Kicking the NFL, host a syndicated game show, Batacolitis. We're back now with former Chargers kicker Rolf Benirschke. Those were the days.
Well, that's so funny.
That was before Pat Sajak, wasn't it?
Well, no, he was in the middle of that. He wanted to go do a nighttime talk show.
Okay.
They needed to replace the daytime show. He was still doing the nighttime show. The talk show was on CBS. The daytime show was NBC. They had to get rid of him, and so they had to find a host. And it is so funny that I'm doing that. My dad still shakes his head. I'm a medical doctor. I got a son that plays professional football, and now he's a game show host. Where did I go wrong as a dad?
See, now as a football player, you should have known once you took his place,
gosh.
never let him back in.
Oh, gosh, it was so funny.
Pat lives right down the road in Annapolis, as a matter of fact. Done a great job, both of you did on that show, which is terrific. Let's go back now as we watch you here back in 1989. Even before that, after you got out of the hospital, you told us about the kick. But 1983, 84, even 80, I mean, you came back. You were a Pro Bowler when you came back.
Yeah.
You have since been put in the San Diego Chargers Hall of Fame. I mean, phenomenal comeback.
Again, I was very fortunate. I was the beneficiary of a new surgical type that allowed me to play again. I played under an owner and a coach that that valued people and friendships and gave me an opportunity. And then I played on a great team with Fouts and Winslow and Charlie Joyner and Chuck Muncie, and we threw the ball over
Louis
the yard.
Kelcher.
And we had a lot of opportunity.
The roster itself is like a who's who in pro football. But those days, what were they like? Because I listened to Danny tell the stories, and as we watch him right here, Fouts throwing over the middle to Winslow. I mean, all those guys were great football players, but they were also characters.
They were real characters. We had a collection of them. And it started with our coach, and then went to Dan, who was the most competitive guy I've ever been around in my life. And here he's throwing to Charlie
vouch
Joyner.
for that.
Remarkable. One of the differences, I think, from that era to this was that we stayed with our team basically our whole career. So my 10 years was all with San Diego. I had a chance later to go somewhere else, but I was ready to retire and kind of move on and do other things. And you know, you get identified then with the team. Now, you know, I think of Vinatieri, you know, he's really a patriot, but he's not anymore, right? And
he's a Colt.
And ultimately, that's I think hard on an athlete. You know, we had the benefit of living in a community, establishing roots, getting into a second business. We needed to, we didn't make the money that they make now, and that's been a blessing.
We've talked about the disease, we talked about your illness, we talked about the problems. What's your most memorable part of coming back and playing with the Chargers?
The most memorable part was what we showed there, where I was given an opportunity to be the honorary captain for a day and walked out there.
So weak, Louis almost had to help carry you.
Almost had to carry me. And then the stadium spontaneously standing up and responding and supporting me caught me totally by surprise. I'm in the middle of the field in tears, you know, shaking Jack Lambert's hand and Mean Joe Green's, and Mean Joe goes, you know, these guys must really like you. And I'm not sure as much me as I was a Charger. They loved the team, and I was a beneficiary of all that love. But it really propelled me ultimately to return and then do what I do now, which is I'm a patient advocate. I love to sort of tell the story, the value of the patient. I'm here in Washington. There's an AdvaMed conference. It's a med tech conference where they bring 6,000 companies together that are innovating for new solutions for healthcare issues. And a lot of them start in the sports world and then get migrated over to sort of the general population. But with all this new technology, the lawyers, the government needs to understand and allow this innovation so that, you know, not just athletes, but the general person who wants to return to work or do whatever he wants to do has the opportunity to have it covered by payors, that it's cleared and reimbursed and all. So it's a really interesting time right now.
So often we talk about the athletes in the NFL and throughout college football as well that have gotten into trouble. We don't talk enough about the guys that go on and do things and how the game of football prepares you for the game of life. For instance, you're telling me tomorrow you're going up on Capitol Hill, you're meeting with the Bush family occasionally. I mean, you're out there, you've got exposure, and I can guarantee you that going out in front of 70,000 fans and millions on television, that has helped prepare you for this.
I think that's part of it, there's no doubt. And I think it's when you do anything with passion, the way you do your sports show. We played with passion. If you don't play with passion, you'll never be as good as you can be. But when you do something with passion, people listen. And it's a driver for me. I really feel like I've been given a second chance at life. Timmy, I should have been dead at 24, and here I am 56, and I feel like every day is a new opportunity. And I've had the privilege of working with a company called Convatec, promoting this opportunity to live differently with an ostomy. I sit here now at this AdvaMed conference managing a panel on sports injuries and new technologies that allows you to return to do things. They have spine surgeries now where you can go laterally and have a 2 or 3 levels fusion and walk out of the hospital the next day, not getting sliced open from top to bottom on the front or the back. And knees, total knees, and hips are being done routinely. I mean, there's 30% more total knees done. Why? Because you have better technology. It allows you to return to what you love to do. And we need to allow those companies to have the opportunity to get through FDA approval, get reimbursed, to get coded correctly, have innovation supported, not reduced. You know, we're in a budget crisis, we know that. But to just lop off technology and cut things, it's ridiculous. These companies are out there employing people, creating jobs, you know, returning tax dollars, and fundamentally making a difference in our healthcare system. And shoot, we're all getting older. We all need it.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? You know, Rolf he's not just an advocate of this. I mean, he's out there walking the walk. I know you still have your golf tournament. You do that every year to raise money.
Right.
Of course, I heard you're a heck of a golfer.
Well, I wish I'd learned it earlier.
Kickers and quarterbacks?
Well,
they're always good golfers. And hockey players.
Those are some good ones. Yeah, we started a charity tournament 11 years ago where we have a limited field. We invite 100 guys to it, and we select different charities. There's always a base charity. It's the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, which does the research on my illness. We fund a pro kids golf, inner city youth, and then we rotate the other charity and make a big difference.
We've got to run. Always a pleasure. Great to see you. Thanks for spreading the word.
Thank you.
Rolf Benirschke, one of the all-time greats. We'll be joined by